Morning everybody, and welcome to Monday morning. It's the start of week 3 of the Norwegian Singles approach. There's the watch, just finished. I've not done any recording today, just a couple of sideways foot shots, because I've been concentrating on keeping the heart rate really low and not slipping over. But to be fair, I've had really good grip today. I've wore the trail shoes that I had on yesterday for the cross country, and they've got amazing grip, but it's also had the double bonus of washing off all the mud that was stuck to them. So I was going to take the opportunity today to talk about easy runs and how I do them and what I expect to happen from doing them, because I was having a conversation in the comments section yesterday. Forgive me, I can't remember names, I'm terrible with names. It was Mr. D Pal and then some numbers. I'll put your name on the screen, sorry mate, it's early in the morning and I've forgot everything. But the conversation was that this person didn't know how I could possibly have such a low heart rate for the running I do, and this is a reply that's going to take a few different angles on. The first one being that my heart rate is completely different to anybody else's heart rate. I do have a really low heart rate anyway, but I do know people. Well, there's one person in particular who is a fellow YouTuber, and I know that his first turn point, his zone 2, is roughly about the same heart rate as my threshold. That's how much heart rate can vary, and he's a very competent masters runner. So the first thing to remember is don't compare heart rates, because your heart rate is your own. The other thing to consider is that I've been doing easy runs that I've been using heart rate as my guide for a number of years now. I think going back, we're 2026 now, so going back 4 or 5 years. When I first started doing my coaching and I learnt about the different energy systems, and a friend of mine, Nick, he did his Lydiard coaching exams, and if you Google the Lydiard training, that's basically a massive block of easy runs, and then as you progress through the block you introduce intensity as you go along. But the main brunt of it is weeks and weeks of really easy running before you do anything, and it's a proven system that works because there's been Olympians that's used it. So way back then we decided to get into the easy running using heart rate as a metric, and it was incredibly difficult to do, to keep my heart rate down to the level that I wanted it to be. I had to stop running and walk because I physically couldn't stop my heart rate from rising up too high. So the method I was using back then to guide me with my heart rate was the Maffetone method, which again many thousands and thousands of people have used this and used it successfully. It's as out of all the way of estimating or guides, it's pretty good. It's obviously it's never going to be accurate, but it's as accurate as can be. And it took weeks and weeks before I could successfully do an easy run and keep my heart rate low enough so that I wasn't having to stop and walk. Because what happens is your body actually makes adaptations it improves itself. It's slowly over time gains the ability to absorb more oxygen and to transport more oxygen by making all the blood vessels a little bit bigger, and all the mechanisms that all the big fancy names that all these sports scientists will give you. But in a nutshell, your body learns to use oxygen and deliver oxygen to your muscles a lot better, and it takes time. When you first start low heart rate training, you could be as many as 8 weeks before you even notice the first improvements. But stick with it. As you've seen on many YouTube videos, you have to trust the process, because it does work, and improving your aerobic capability is the absolute end goal of running. All runners, their main energy system that you use is the aerobic system, and when you start working harder and it introduces the anaerobic system, that's just a little top up, a little bit of help. It's not the main amount. To give you some numbers, if you did a 5k absolutely flat out as hard as you could, it's about 80 to 85% aerobic, with just the remainder touching on the anaerobic, which is why it's so important to train this energy system. So doing lots of mileage at low intensity is the best way to do it. Now, one thing that a lot of people don't mention when they talk about low heart rate running, or zone 2 running, let's call it, is that when you're running, regardless of what pace you're doing or what intensity you're doing, you are training the aerobic system. If you do 100 meter sprints, your body will use the aerobic system and then calling in the anaerobic to top off. So regardless of what run you're doing, you're training the aerobic system. But the caveat is that the harder the intensity you run, the longer it takes for your body to recover and make the adaptations. So it's delaying the time before you can get out and run again. So as a rough guide, me now, if I go out and do an hour at low intensity, at low heart rate, I know definitely that 24 hours later I'll be fully recovered and ready to do the next run. But if I went out and did half an hour at a high intensity, like a 5k pace or something like that, the recovery time's longer than 24 hours. So if you really want to train your aerobic system, stick with it. It really does work. It really does help with your running. The better you can use oxygen is going to help running across all distances. If you even look at the really short distance runners these days, the Olympians, Ingebrigtsen and the likes of that, they're doing a lot of volume of what is to them an easy intensity. We look at the paces and think, good grief, how can somebody run that fast? But to people of that caliber, they are pretty much jogging along. Same with all the top level Kenyan marathon runners. The Kenyans, they when they do their easy runs, they have almost a game to see who can run the slowest, because it's just an aerobic stimulus. It's nothing to do with pace, it's nothing to do with showing people how fast you can go. It's training that aerobic system so that when you do get to race day, you're in a really good place aerobically. You can get the oxygen to your muscles and you can run faster for longer at a higher intensity, and that's all it's about. But if there's one thing that I could just repeat again, have patience. You really have to trust the process, and it does seem counterintuitive to be running at such a low intensity to improve your running, because I did the same when I started running. I thought you had to run hard and fast all the time to improve your running, and it's exactly the opposite. I'm not going to go into the 80-20 rule because that's been proven to be wrong. That's probably accurate if you're doing seriously high mileage, like 100 miles a week plus, but it's not applicable to what I call real life. But I hope that's explained the easy running. When I do my easy running, I've got a heart rate gauge on my watch, and when it beeps on my watch, that's telling me I'm getting close to the top limit. And the reason why I've got it close to the top limit and not at the top limit, well, first of all, the top limit is something I want to keep away from. It's not a target. I want to keep well away from that top end. But when I'm running, if I get a slight rise, a bit of a bump in the road, and if my heart rate starts to climb, my alarm will go off before it reaches top limit, because when I get to the top, my heart rate will continue to rise for a short time. It's how your body works. It's not 100% real time on exertion to heart rate. There's a delay. So having that bit of a buffer on my watch, that alarm that goes off, helps me keep honest. It's not set in stone. If it creeps over a couple of heartbeats for a short amount of time, that genuinely makes no difference whatsoever. But the main point of the easy running is two reasons mainly: aerobic stimulus, and to allow the recoveries from what is normally the previous day would be a higher intensity run. The Norwegian Singles, I've got 3 threshold runs a week, which are Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday. So I've done an easy run today, which is going to mean that I'm nice and refreshed and ready for tomorrow's higher intensity. Straight after that, on the Wednesday, is an easy run to recover, and the cycle repeats. So I hope that's explained everything. I've gone on an awful long time, but if you get any questions and want any further discussion on it, let me know in the comments, and I'll try to expand on things that I've probably missed. So I'm going to sign off for there. Tomorrow's threshold day. If this snow doesn't clear, I might actually decide to do it inside on the treadmill. Running nice and slow on this is perfectly fine, but I'm not sure about whipping along at threshold effort would be a wise idea. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. So I'll see you later. Hey up everybody, and welcome to Tuesday, and welcome to my old running buddy, the treadmill. It's a bit of a swap round today. I always go running in the morning because I never know what time I'm going to finish work, and it's been really helpful with my consistency for running in the morning. And yesterday I had the brilliant idea of not running in the morning because it was icy, but it was scheduled to fall later in the day. As expected, I finished really late from work. It's now 6:30. I'm quite hungry, and instead of sitting down and having a nice bit of food when I come in from work, I'm jumping on the treadmill. And today's session, it's 6 by 6 minutes at threshold. But if I'm honest, I'm actually glad I'm doing it on the treadmill. It's a fantastic tool for controlling pace and effort. So I know that the last time I did the 6 by 6 minutes, I was somewhere between 4:25 and 4:30 a kilometre pace when I looked at the data afterwards. So the treadmill is slightly easier. So I'm going to dial the pace into, I think it's 13.6 kilometres an hour, which works out at 4 minutes and 25 a kilometre, and we're going to see how it goes. But my food's waiting. I'm talking too much. Let's get this started. 13.6. And what I will do, I'm going to use the magic of editing to chop out a lot of the boring bits, so we'll have a chat at the end. There we go, that's up to speed. Let's have some fun. That's the first one done, and I've just got to 143 beats a minute. 90 seconds recovery now. The first one obviously felt easy, as it should. I don't want the first one to be right at the top limit. I want to build into it. Right, 10 seconds. Six minutes, here we go. Four seconds. There we go, that's the second 6 minutes done. And my heart rate, I think, got to about 143 then. It's getting warm in here though. Right, 10 seconds to go. Let's get on with number 3. There we go. Ten seconds. There we go, number 3 done. And that one said 147 when I finished that, but it did creep up to 148 I saw in the middle. And it's getting really warm now. Right, 10 seconds to go. Here we are. Number 4. Four seconds. Well, heart rate lifted up there, got up to the 150. It's getting really, really hot in here now though. So that's not going to help heart rate. Okay, 10 seconds, here we go. Number 5. On we go. One more to do, and it touched 153 then for a couple of seconds. Right, we've got 20 seconds left. I've got one more to do. If it looks like I'm going to go over the 153, I'm going to drop the pace back to 13.4 kilometers an hour, which is about 429. Here we go. Right. Well, I had to drop the speed down on that. I've dropped from 13.6 kilometers an hour to 13.4 because it was getting right on threshold rather than sub threshold. And the channel motto is training is to improve what we do, not to prove what we can do. And today we're a sub-threshold session, so I reduce speed. And that's what you should have done. But much tougher than what I thought it would be, but it is really, really hot in here. I'm absolutely baking. And if I'm honest, I really didn't want to do this session today, but that's why I did it. Because I've got this little rule I have with myself. If I don't want to do a session, then I'm going to make sure I do it. But if I shouldn't do a session, then, you know, for injury or fatigue, whatever, then that is when I won't do one. And it might have sounded a bit Nanny McPhee, but it works. But there we go, what we got now? 5 seconds left. And that is the end of 6 by 6 minutes off 90 seconds sub-threshold. Right, stop the belt. Because the one thing that you're thinking now is, what shoes have you wore on a treadmill? And I'm actually trying my new Vomero Pluses. I wore them on an easy run and really liked how they were. And I wanted to try them on a sub-threshold run, preferably outside, but that plan fell through. So I've tried them on the treadmill. So far we've tried them on a treadmill and an easy run, and they're doing good. The only way I'd describe them is they're Nike's version of the Adidas, whichever you want to say it, Evo SLs. There's not a great deal of difference between them, except for the Nikes just feel to have more midsole underneath you. But that's enough for now. I need to do my cool down, and then I've got to have some food because I'm starving. So that's Tuesday finish. I'll see you in the morning for a 60-minute easy. Hey up everybody, welcome to Wednesday morning. And it is morning. I've learnt my lesson again on why I like to run in the morning, finishing late after work and getting home, and all you want to do is just have some food and just sit down and relax. It's really not nice to have to get yourself ready and go out for a run. I also think it's poor quality training, because when I get home from work I'm tired, my energy levels are low, and when I start my training, that means I'm starting training already fatigued from the day at work. So getting my training done in the morning, I've got more energy, it feels easier, and I really believe that it's better training. What I am going to mention today is all of you that are starting out on the Norwegian Singles, you really need to ignore what your activity watch is saying. If you've got a Garmin or a Coros or a Sunto and it tracks fitness and VO2, the way that it works it out is based on an algorithm that's using a major part of its results are based on doing high intensity workouts. And obviously the Norwegian Singles, you have one VO2 session probably once every 4 to 6 weeks. So even though you, in reality, you are getting fitter, your aerobic engine's improving, you're able to run faster for longer at a much easier effort, the watch will say different. And this has been proved by the man who's most famous for the Norwegian Singles, James Copeland. With all his achievements, his really quick times, his PBs, his Garmin has been telling him he's unproductive. So if somebody who's running those kind of times is getting unproductive on their watch, I think it's safe to say that we can ignore the misleading data that's on our watch. Because let's face it, all activity watches are a guide, and not just for fitness levels or VO2, but even the very job they're designed to do, GPS activity tracking, even that's not super accurate, and just by how it works it never can be. So this is why when you do any runs on a measured distance, whether it be a track or an actual race event, the distance on your watch will never match the true distance. So what I'm saying in a nutshell is, if you're starting out on the Norwegian Singles and your watch is telling you that you're not getting fitter, in fact quite the opposite, ignore it, because it's telling you fibs, it's lying to you. So we've nearly finished the 60 minutes easy now, and it's been nice to run in some decent weather for a change, even though that's forecast to stop. So tomorrow is session day, another sub-threshold day, but there's a forecast snowstorm. Whether or not it'll happen, I don't know, but if it does, I'll just go back on the treadmill, that's no worries. And I've just said it's been nice to run in the weather, and the wind's picked up. I'm having to lean into this now. Well, what's that saying? If you don't like the weather, wait 2 minutes, it'll be different. How can it change that quickly? Oh, I've just got about 15 seconds left of this. Heart rate's on 111. Average has been 111. Well, that's another 60 minutes easy done. Enjoyed that one. Super low heart rate. The average was, I think, 111 beats a minute. I'll put some information on the screen for you. Enjoyed it. Nice weather to run in. We had a little bit of wind towards the end, but that passed soon enough. Tomorrow is session day, so looking forward to that one. I'm going to get to do 10 by 3 minutes, all off 60 seconds. The only thing that could put a spanner in the works of that would be we have got a forecast, weather forecast of another snowstorm coming in, and if that happens, I'm not going to be able to run at that intensity on slippy ground, so it'll be another treadmill day, but we'll wait and see what happens. Shoes, you've probably seen what they are already, because I always like to include a couple of side-on foot shots, but today I've gone for my Adidas Primex Strung, and the reason why I've chose these is because yesterday after work, it was quite late in the day. I think it was after 6 o'clock when I started. I did the threshold and I'm straight back out again at 8 o'clock in the morning, so 14 hours difference between the runs, which is a bit too close, but I want to get back to my morning schedule. I didn't want to risk leaving it until later, but super comfy. They really help with recovery because of that massive 50mm midsole there. The only thing is now, if you look at the toes of them, they're a bit dirty now, but easy way of dealing with that is just wait till it's dry and brush it off, because if you didn't know, mud is only wet dust, so just wait for it to dry, give it a brush, you're back to normal. So that's it for today. I'm going to get back home, I'm going to get cleaned up, I'm going to get to work. So until tomorrow, I'll see thee.
As the boys can take them all, stack in the group.